Well, I dare say there's not a family in America who has not been touched by dementia or Alzheimer's. We're going to be talking to a leading national expert next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is The Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, my heart goes out to every family in America who is dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia, because it becomes an all-encompassing job for the caretaker. Somebody who knows that very well is Brenda Shuttlesworth. She is with the North Central Texas chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me today, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And you've been leading this wonderful organization in North Texas for the last 2.5 years. For people who don't know what Alzheimer's Association does, can you share that with us?
Right. The Alzheimer's Association is the leading voluntary health organization relative to Alzheimer's and all other dementia. And we do 3 things. 1, we point people toward research. 2, we drive risk reduction and early detection. And the 3rd thing that we do is offer care and support in local communities.
And let's talk about those families, because many families have never even read a book about Alzheimer's or dementia when suddenly mom or dad, starts misplacing things. So how do you, if a family came to you for the first time and said, we are just, losing it, we don't know how to take care of mom or dad, how do you step in?
That's a great question, Jeff. And when people reach out to us, usually it's not by walking into an office. It's usually by our helpline that's available 24/7. So people can call our helpline, and a trained clinician is on the other end of the line, and they are going to talk with that family to hear exactly what is going on. If they're needing supports in the local community, if they're needing connections with a physician, or even if they are needing to explore opportunities for senior living, the clinician is going to help them narrow the focus of what might be happening at that particular moment, and then offer them the supports that they might need in their local community.
We're going to pull up your website, and as we scroll down the website, I want you to talk about why you think it is that we're seeing so many cases this time.
Right. We have so many cases of Alzheimer's and other dementias because I think people are more aware, which is part of what we try to do in local communities. And then people are going to see their physicians sooner. So when people are experiencing something that's not quite right, they reach out to their primary care physician and they start a conversation about what might be happening. And the 3rd thing is that people are just living longer.
We're going to pull some video from our library, and I want you to describe for me how best to deal with somebody who is suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia. I've been told that you don't want to correct them too many times. If the person believes that this is happening, they become agitated if you're always correcting them. Is that true?
That is true. And a lot of times what I do personally, because I'm also a caregiver for my mom and previously for my father, whatever their reality is on any given day, I will always meet them where they are. And I try not to argue, and I try to not get into their personal space, and I try to be as calm and as reassuring as I can. And I always let them know that I love them and I support them and that I'm there with them at that moment, whether they know who I am or not.
You're a very popular media spokesperson. You're always getting called on by the media. And there's good news on the horizon when it comes to drugs. I found a great segment that you did in Waco. Let's go ahead and roll that clip.
Well, the FDA has approved another Alzheimer's drug that can modestly slow the disease, providing a new option for patients in the early stages of the incurable memory-destroying ailment. The FDA approved Eli Lilly's Kisunla. It's only the second drug that's been convincingly shown to delay cognitive decline in patients, following last year's approval of a similar drug from Japanese drug maker Eisai. Brenda Shuttlesworth, the Executive Director of Alzheimer's Association, joins me now. Brenda, thanks for being here. So first off, how big of a victory is this FDA approval for the Alzheimer's Association?
Well, every time a new drug is approved by the FDA, we shout for joy at the Alzheimer's Association. And of course, this is the third FDA-approved drug in 3 years. So we are very excited with this decision that came out on July 2nd.
And it doesn't happen very often at all. So it's the first thing on anyone's mind rather is for those who have a loved one dealing with Alzheimer's, are they a good candidate for the drug, and who would best be served by Kisunla?
Of course, the first thing that we as the Alzheimer's Association say is you need to consult with your physician and make that decision as a family in consultation with your physician. But people that are in the early stages of the disease and have amyloid plaques would be the best candidates for this disease. So a diagnosis for a person might be mild cognitive impairment, or they might have heard a diagnosis that says that they're in the mild stages of Alzheimer's disease. And again, they have the amyloid plaques.
I see. And so how is Kisunla different from other Alzheimer's medications that have come out in the past?
Right. It's in the same category as Aduhelm and Leqembi that came out over the last couple of years, but this one is a bit different because, again, it clears the plaques in the brain, but part of the tracking with this drug with your physician is that when the plaques are reduced to a certain level, this medication that is infused, it can be stopped.
Right, so it's a different way of kind of treating Alzheimer's before it actually kind of gets going, right?
Correct, and because of its efficacy, when the plaques are reduced to a certain level, patients no longer have to take the medication.
And as far as the trials go, how good has the success rate been?
The success rate has been the best yet. So it is reducing cognitive decline by 22% compared to placebo, and then it has a 39% rate of people not progressing to a moderate stage of the disease.
That's big progress.
Yes.
As far as how the drug is administered, how is that happening and how often?
Right. It's an IV infusion. Routinely, it's monthly. And again, the dosing is going to be determined between a patient and their physician.
And are there any side effects?
There are side effects, and of course we are battling a disease that has no survivors, and so it has side effects that need to be discussed based on what other symptomology a person may have, and then a physician and the family will need to determine if it's the most common side effect that people hear about or the micro brain bleeds.
Okay, and so it would still be worth it for a try at this treatment, and what is the cost for this?
The cost is $32,000 per year.
Okay, but if you're having a loved one suffering from Alzheimer's, it may be worth it.
I think that it's always worth it to talk with your physician. Of course, we at the Alzheimer's Association, we will continue to fight for affordable and accessible treatments until everyone has access to affordable treatments and that we no longer have this disease.
That's what we're hoping for. All right.
That is our hope.
Thanks so much, Brenda, for
Thanks
joining
for
us
the
today.
invitation.
Thank you.
So Brenda, this does give a lot of hope to a lot of families, but you were telling me that they've got to catch it early enough for these drugs to be effective?
That's correct. It's so important that people really have that conversation with family members and then with the primary care physician, because the earlier that a diagnosis is made, the more likely a person might be eligible for one of these newer medications.
Okay, let's talk about how people can get involved. I know you're always looking for volunteers, and of course, as a nonprofit, you need donations.
Absolutely. You are speaking my language, Jeff. So right now we are just approaching the Walk to End Alzheimer's season. So we have 7 different Walk to End Alzheimer's events across the DFW area. You can go to alz.org/walk, and you can find the walk nearest you. It costs nothing to register, but we always love for you to ask your friends to come and for you to make donations.
Outstanding. Well, you've been an amazing guest. We're going to have you back again. Thank you for sharing your heart and your wisdom with us. We're going to end with the website, which is alz.org/North Central Texas. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Brenda.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.